Well, all right, I had room for all but one container. And this thing puts a wheelbarrow to shame. Love it. Alrighty, not too bad. Got my 80 mile per gallon scooter here, so if gas becomes expensive, I can ride this next to my infinite mile per gallon bicycle, which will go 40 miles an hour in a pinch until I break a spoke. A couple of solar panels to charge the bicycle with. Oh, let's see, we got brown rice. These are all nitro packed. They'll probably be edible in 20 years. I could be retired and be eating that. I believe, this is my manual wheat grinder with the big hand crank, and boy is it tough. I think we got cheese right here, canned cheese. HTH Pool Shock, which is a powdered form of bleach. And you can actually take a certain amount of that stuff and mix up regular bleach, like Clorox, and you can purify thousands of gallons of water. Lamp oil down there, Crisco, Yoder's beef chunks. That's kind of a nice prepper food. Red Feather canned butter, lentils down there for sprouting, for cooking, or for planting and fixing nitrogen in the soil. Chopped onions, an old army wood stove, military surplus, never used. It's a tent wood stove actually. I could set it up in the fireplace in the house, or I could set it up in this shed if I needed to. I think I put sugar in these things, sealed in Mylar. Canned cheese, dehydrator, some emergency water, beef bouillon, my old sort of weak generator, but it would be useful in a pinch. Just put up these shelves recently, the other day. Got milk substitute, which is sort of whey stuff. Got powdered milk, many plastic bags. Basically, there's a article out written by somebody who survived the Sarajevo siege in Europe somewhere, and basically he wrote a big list of things which is called the 100 things that you run out of in an emergency, and plastic bags were high up on the list. Candles and wicks, and then of course a lot of food, and pinto beans, hard red wheat, which I can grind and make pancakes out of and have a lot of breakfast out of that. Hard red wheat, pinto beans, very high protein. Wheat plus beans is a complete protein, and you can survive almost indefinitely on that. Yellow corn, which is not very good, but it's useful to hand out if somebody comes begging and you have to give them something. Hard red wheat, again, pinto beans over there, and a big, huge roll of plastic which is suitable for making a greenhouse, and it is huge. It unfolds multiple times and unrolls, and man, You could probably cover the whole roof of my house with that. Empty 2-liter soda bottles, which come in handy for carrying and storing water. Paper towels. They said that you can never have too many. Toilet paper. I got a bunch of toilet paper in the attic too. Now this is a pellet gun with a shitload of little pellets for it. In an emergency, I might be forced to start plinking at squirrels or something, or crows, or any number of things. And it might be very important to have something like that. And it makes very little noise compared to a .22 pistol or rifle or whatever. So it's important, I think. Oh, my little tiny generator, which is useful in a pinch for various things. Anyway, yeah, I think it's important for a MGTOW, I mean especially a MGTOW, to have a certain amount of preparedness, although this might be more than most people need, because emergencies are, they're kind of funny, right? People always accuse you of preparing for the zombie apocalypse, right? But honestly, the majority of the time, any disaster which affects you is going to be so small that it won't even affect your neighbors. Like something like a job loss, or if you get hurt, or you have a situation where you have a huge unexpected bill, or somebody says, "Oh, he's the father," and then the child support people come and take all your money. It's important, I believe, to have a certain amount of resources and money and things of value and groceries, which will last a long time, available to you, just in case the conventional economic system runs out of steam or deserts you or leaves you high and dry, right? Because everybody knows how many homeless guys there are compared to homeless women. And the thing is, those women, they'll be helped. If society has anything left, it will help the women. And it'll leave us out in the cold. For example, the charities that were handing out supplies in Somalia after the earthquake. No, not Somalia. Haiti. They basically were giving food and stuff to the women and nothing at all for men. So it's important for men, if you have a penis, right? It's important for you to be able to fend for yourself, because society is not going to help you. But the majority of the time, I mean, people always laugh, "Oh, you preparing for the zombies? Ha ha! You're paranoid," right? But the thing is, the vast majority of the time, a disaster hits you, it's just going to affect you, or maybe your street, or maybe your block, like a power outage or something, or municipal water outage. Remember on the East Coast, they were having this big thing in the news because the water was out and people were having fist fights over bottled water in the stores. Well, basically, I would not be in that situation because I've got like water here, and it's time for me, by the way, it's time for me to change this water, because I always change it in July and right on New Year's Day, and that is today. So I had better grab this water. And refill that one and the one in the garage. And I think I've got another one buried under there, but it's too far in there. Oh, I've also got a tent here. It's pretty good to have an emergency. It's like a 2-room tent. It's fairly large. It's always important to have, like things like this. Let's see, what's this? Powdered whole eggs. Very useful with in combination with flour and some of these eggs and a little bit of baking powder, which I have in here somewhere. You can make all the pancakes you can eat. And everybody else might be in bad shape and be in trouble if there's a wider disaster like a Katrina or a earthquake, which hits the Northwest every once in a while. But basically, a big earthquake would certainly mess us up. It would wipe out the power and the water. But also, I also have another prep, which is a sort of an emergency measure. I have a little tub near my back porch with an aquatic plant that they call duckweed growing in it. And it is a high carbohydrate, high protein plant, which it would provide some nutrients and some useful protein and carbohydrates. And the beauty of it is it grows when under the proper conditions. It grows if it gets good sun and decent nutrients. It doubles in mass every 48 hours. So you could put, if you had 500 pounds of that stuff growing, you'd have another 500 pounds of it 2 days later, right? And if you have enough growing, it'd be more than you could eat, and you'd be trading it to the neighbors and giving it away to charities and stuff like that in an emergency. And that's one of the reasons I have all this plastic, right? Because I could dig trenches out in the yard here and fill it with water if the municipal water is going, or with rain catch from the roof, and then fill that and basically put in whatever compost I have with the water and dump some duckweed into the trench, and I would be a massive producer of duckweed. And that could very well turn a serious famine into just moderate hunger. So it's an emergency measure, and hopefully I'll never have to use it. So I highly recommend taking a peek at that list of the 100 things that go missing or are in short supply in an emergency. I think I'll link to it. Not because I think that there's going to be a zombie apocalypse, but just in case, the economic system fails you personally, or that sort of thing. Well, I guess I better go refill my water and finish out my day. Later. That's one thing that's always puzzled me about people who are into preparedness, and they call them survivalists and this whole big thing, but that's one thing that has always puzzled me about those people. They just seem to have this blind spot for the whole marriage, divorce, alimony, child support, false accusations thing. I mean, they're awesome at identifying hazards and setting up contingency plans and getting some of their productivity out of the conventional economy, and do things like growing gardens and storing food and having things like precious metals, and they're really good at so much, and yet they almost universally have this tremendous blind spot for the dangers that regular guys like most MGTOWs are talking about and are very aware of. I mean, it's just like, and I have spoken to a lot of these preppers. I have a prepper channel that I don't really frequent that much anymore. I seem to have more in common with the MGTOW and MRA communities than I do with the prepper communities these days. I mean, there's just so much more that I agree with, and such common ground, even though, yes, I'm a prepper or a survivalist, and there's just so much more that I can talk to normal MGTOW about, that I just can't discuss with your average prepper. They just say that I'm bitter, and they give me all this shaming language, and it's and they say I feel sorry for you and stuff, and it's just so bizarre that they have such an incredible blind spot for such a dangerous freaking hazard. And they're so prepared for everything else. I mean, economic problems, natural disasters, these plagues that periodically run through, like the 1918 flu epidemic and pandemics and whatnot, and the resulting economic chaos. They're so aware of stuff like that, and yet they have this giant freaking blind spot for divorce. And a lot of these preppers, they're living their normal lives, and it could well be that sitting right next to them is the most dangerous part, the most dangerous hazard they'll ever face, and that is their wife sitting demurely right next to them when she turns around and decides she likes somebody else better, and then ass launches him out into the street and takes the house and all of his preps and supplies and all of his precious metals. And geez, that is a pretty friggin' serious hazard. So that's why I kind of have gotten away from, I very rarely post on my prepper channel these days. I am like 90% MGTOW and maybe 10% prepper now. Oops, time to put this water away. I like to fill it once every 6 months, either like in the middle of summer in July or so, and right after the new year, which is today. I got a bunch of different things that I do when the new year rolls around. I better get to it later.